Hey, it is DigiWatch with another deck profile for you. Today I played in my locals 4 rounds and I played Blue Hybrid. This is the first time I've actually played Blue Hybrid in a competitive tournament. I was usually playing Yellow, but I wanted to test it out since we are in the second half of the format, and I wanted to I put some choices in here that might not necessarily be what top players do use, but I definitely think that they came in handy. I only lost once, so I'll go through the matchups real quick. So first round, I actually played a yellow. I think it's like a bulk or Boltmon type of deck, kind of based on the Digiburst aspect and kind of returning cards to hand and gaining special effects based on the number of cards in their security. Um, second game, I played against Diaboromon. Diaboromon was able to outgrind this deck, and there is a specific card in here that I actually thought would win me the game, and it didn't, unfortunately. So that was my only loss. Round three, I faced against Red Hybrid, and did pretty well against that. Was able to basically just kind of chip away at their life and be able to swing for a game. And round four, I played Jesmon, and I got very lucky because um, in my security, as one of the final cards was a Hammer Spark, which passed turn to me, and basically allowed me to go for game in the third game. So with that said, I am going to share what my deck list is. So I play 4 Kairumon and 1 Upamon. Don't think there's anything too crazy about this. You strip away a source, you draw 1. And with Upamon is just that fifth option. I will say that throughout the tournament, I kind of kept pulling into him on like the first turn, and it didn't really matter too much. But I kind of wished I would see the Kairumon, so I may consider bringing it down to 4, or I don't know. I might or might not. 2 Pokemon. I think that 2 Pokemon is fine. You do a lot of searching with a lot of the other cards here, so 2 is fine. I never really saw it. I guess I never complained that I needed more for that, so that was fine. For Madoki Betamon, this I definitely was in more preference to in against the Diaboromon player. I wanted this on the field a little bit earlier on, just to avoid the memory gain effects that some of their inherited gave them. But it was pretty good. Sakakuman. This one definitely was very key, and I think why the player playing Red Hybrid didn't necessarily bring out his stuff. He couldn't really reduce the digivolution cost, and he actually decided to go into breeding and kind of like do everything in breeding and then kind of swing. But no problems here. Also gets you an extra draw. I play 4 of the Strawbymon. This is the BT4 version that gets you a tamer and a blue hybrid. When you look at the top 3, I don't play any of the new one, the one that looks at 4, because I don't play Koji. And this strategy is really just focused on stripping the opponent's sources and gaining from that. So with that said, pretty standard. Let's go here. Kumamon, 4 of Korakakumon, 4 of. So I didn't know this when I first started playing the deck, just testing against friends and stuff, but it definitely, you can keep digivolving on your level 4s over and over again. So there was actually a play where I didn't really have a lot of sources or like a lot of tamers, so I went over Kumamon first, then went over Korakakumon to stun, and then go into another Korakakumon to stun, and then another Korakakumon to stun. So it was kind of funny. And then I went into Beowulf to swing and then return back. It did die like during that attack, but I was able to recover one, which ended up playing out really well because then that was the one that actually allowed me to swing for game later. That said, Beowulf, it's a great card, being able to bounce your opponent's cards back to their hand. Also, I would recommend, at least in how I play this deck, that you hold off on chipping away until you at least have 2 swings, or at least get a tamer that you can go onto, and always swing at one at a time. In other words, if you have something in your tamer spot, don't bring that out and then swing. Kind of see what's going to kill or the card that you're swinging with, so that way you don't waste too many resources, and you can kind of figure your game plan at that point. So we're going to go to the level 6s here, and then I'm going to get into the tamers and everything. So in terms of 6s, I played 1 Hexablau, which is probably the thing that most people don't play, and 2 Ozulong. The reason why I play Hexablau is because I find that having an extra layer of protection with the not being able to swing if you don't have any sources does sometimes come into play, and your opponent does have to expend resources to kind of get him off the board, rather than try to like clear like your board wide. And sometimes I actually would, if I had no other move and I had enough memory, and I'd just kind of get that out on the field and just be able to swing even if it had nothing underneath it. And since Tommy doesn't necessarily have a specific ability to, like, you need a hybrid on it, if you can get the Hexablau to have that, you can also stun one of your opponent's Digimon just as well. So I just like the extra layer of protection. I think it's really good. And then honestly, I would maybe consider switching up the Ozulong to Hexablau and 1 Ozulong, only because there wasn't really too many matchups that saw like me need to go into the Ozulong. And I know that most decks in the current format don't really even use 6s as much. It's more just a tech choice. But I kind of see the point now for that. I still think that I might keep at least 2 6s. I might maybe play 1 and 1 or just use the Hexablaus. I don't know yet. Just testing out. So that is for the Digimon. For the Tamers, nothing too new here. 3 Davis, 3 Sora Joe, 4 Tommy. That's all I really play for that. Some people may say that's actually very, very low count. I thought I saw them when I needed to. I know consistency-wise, you definitely want to have maybe one or 2 more Tamers. I know that some builds I've seen play the 4 Sora Joe and then maybe 1 Matt, the 2-cost Matt, so that you can just kind of Digivolve on him and not necessarily waste any others. I don't know. I think that today I did pretty well just with the Tamers I had, and there were times where I'd have 2 or 3 Davis in hand. So, or sorry, like 2 Davis in hand, where I had 1 on the field, and then he would swing, hit into a Tommy. I'd ship the sources and just be able to use Tommy. I will say that I tried so much to avoid using Sora Joe as needed, unless I knew I was going to end it for that turn. I feel like this is the lifeblood, the dual Tamers. So that's the Tamers. I'm going to go into my options here. So we have Ice Wall, because it's a 1-of. And we have the 4 Hammer Spark. Pretty standard. This is the flex spots, I believe. Well, almost the flex spots. So I played 2 Howling Memory Boost. Some people play 3. I think 2 is fine. I know from some advice I've gotten, from some really cool friends at the locals, they have usually said don't tailor your deck to a specific matchup. Like, in other words, like, don't think that you should change something because this may or may not happen to it. So, one thing I just want to keep in mind is there are a lot of different decks that do play memory blockers, and I just feel like sometimes I don't want to go too wide in terms of memory gain. Just in terms of, like, if they swing into a Hammerspark, or I end up having 3 Hammerspark in hand, unless I can clear their board or return it to their hand, and then play the memory, like, that definitely plays into effect. And the fact that you can strip sources and stun their cards with the Howling Memory Boost, taking their words into a device, I might consider upping the Howling to another Howling. These are kind of the flex spots I actually would do that with. So I have the Aqua Viper. This card was so good. I'm actually thinking of bumping it to 2. To return 1 from your field to your hand to bounce 2 of theirs, that came up so many times, and there were times where, like, I wish I would, like, had it in my hand. To bounce a card back, Digivolve back into my Digitama, or if I'm returning a 4 on my side, be able to Digivolve again and swing, for an extra check. I thought that was so good in terms of the Aqua Viper. Shout out to Battle Ready Inc., who suggested this in their video, and I really liked it, is Blue Hawaii Death. This actually came into play one game. I had to clear the board, and if I didn't, then there was no way I was going to win the match. And I played Blue Hawaii Death. My Digimon gained 3,000, and I was able to attack over one of their Digimon. So I thought that was really cool. So it's a good tech. I definitely would consider also bumping that to 2 if I could find room. Probably if I focus on reducing the 6s, or maybe putting them in side deck. I don't know yet. That would definitely be a choice. And then the last choice, which again is a personal option, is 2 Rattlestar. It's just kind of it's good when it gets hits in security, and there were a couple of games in where this did come into play. They had I was playing the red player. I saw they had an Aldemon on field. Also, actually, I had another player with the Jessamon on field, and in both matches, Rattlestarred them back to the bottom of the deck, because once they have 3 on field, then it doesn't matter the level. You could just bounce it underneath. At least that's my understanding of it. Please let me know in the comments if I'm wrong for that. And with the side deck, I only went with 5 different side deck cards for this tournament. 2 Forbidden Trident. This was a possibility of, like, changing. Again, depending on what I'm going to do possibly for the future. And again, focusing on 5 cards. Absolute blast. I just think it could come into play. There is so much trashing already in this deck. But when you have to extend additional resources, it might just be good to be able to take something off of everything. Kind of like if I took the Azulamon out, that's kind of what Absolute Blast would do in order to get rid of sources and additional effects. The other Hexablow, I did usually when I would side in against a couple masks, I would take out the Azulamon, or like change the ratio of 6s from 3 to 2, or if I needed to, I'd put the Hexablow, take out the Azulamon, and make it more of a stun type of build and try to trash more. For 3 cost, I think that's really good. And then the one Susanamon, as the 5th card in this deck, and I never really played it. I did have it in hand at one point, and we never got up to me needing to play it. And I think at one point I had a Azulamon, and I was like, all right, well, I have 3 checks with a Azulamon. And I was just able to clear the security, and then Digivolve over Tamer for game. So Azulamon never came up. But in the side deck format, especially if you're game 2 and you're playing something that does do Mega Zoo kind of plays, or can get to your 6s quicker, it's kind of an extra good option for that, in my personal opinion. But I'd love to hear your comments. Please let me know in the chat what you think. This is my deck list for the BT7 format. Sorry, I forgot a word. And please like, subscribe, and hope to see you soon. Take care.